Here with Triple H, talking about last night's takeover. So beautiful. I can't. Well, sit up straight, Triple H. Sit up straight and bring it in. Give me a hug. Give me a hug. That takeover was so good. Takeover was so good. That's what I'm talking about. NXT Takeover in your house was phenomenal, as we all expected. Not only that, this is going to be your full show review. We're going to go over everything involving the show. We're going to talk about the matches, the results, everything, and how exactly NXT Takeover made it exactly a show that you needed to see. NXT Takeover was in your house last night, and let's be honest here, folks. For the most part, I thought it was a pretty good show. But the only thing with me is that I hear a lot of people say that from a WWE standard, the show was good. But from an NXT TakeOver standard, it was not. Now, let me tell you this. I enjoyed the show. I thought the show was very good. However, there were a lot of things that did lack in the show. And one of the things that they desperately missed from this was the crowd energy. We know, all of us that watch NXT, we know how important crowd energy is when it comes to NXT, not just NXT alone, but NXT takeovers. From what I know, this was maybe the only NXT takeover that did not have a crowd. Obviously, the takeovers of old had the Full Sail University crowd, and they had all those other things incorporated into it. But as far as this one, it didn't have a crowd. Now, I also love the set. That's one of the things that had the original In Your House set, and there was actually a match, which I will get to later, that involved the set. The set was done very nice, and you know, for what they were, the crowd that was the independents and the NXT wrestlers, whoever was piped into the crowd, they did a fairly good job of making noise tonight. But again, it just there's a fierce ferociousness of an NXT crowd that just cannot be replaced, and that's one of the things that I thought could have made this show a little bit better. But this is NXT Takeover in your house. We did have a massive title change in the main event, which we will talk about when we get to that review, but we're going to talk about this. One of the things that also confused me was the match order, but I understood why the match order was the way that it was when it all panned out. But the match that kicked off the show, I don't know, and again, I'm not going to critique the match order, but I'm not quite sure if I would have had this open the show. I probably would have had the second match open the show. It was Mia Yim, Tegan Nox, and Shotzi Blackheart going against Candice LeRae, Dakota Kai, and Raquel Gonzalez in a 6-woman tag match. Kai and Nox mixed it up early, with Nox getting the back. Gonzalez's size was a big factor early before a bit of forced big moves and dive spots a little too early in the match. Nox was coming off the top rope to the floor with a flipping dive. This was a nice spot in this match. Saw Tegan Nox take a nice flipping dive to the outside onto everybody. And again, you know, when they land on top of everybody, it's just kind of, oh, you know. She came with a flipping dive, which is a nice highlight. After some aggressive Mia Yim offense, a soul food attempt was countered into a suplex. It let Gonzalez get back into the mix, where she delivered a massive powerbomb to Nox. Yim broke up that pin. She and LeRae battled off the back, leaving the opening for Nox to hit Kai with the shiniest wizard for the victory. The match here, this is from CBS Sports I'm reading off of. Obviously, I watched the show. I have my own input, but this is off of CBS Sports. The match itself was rushed, and it suffered for it, but it was still solid enough to get the show going. The match was okay. I was not the biggest fan of this match, you know, but it was just an okay match to me, and it didn't, you know, it was what it was, and it was a tag team match. You know, I felt like it was a little rushed. It felt like it wasn't as exciting as it could have been. But again, this is how NXT TakeOver kicked off. The match we're going to talk about next was probably my favorite match of the night. The fact that they are giving this match a B, to me, is kind of disgraceful. Finn Balor and Damian Priest literally had amazing chemistry. This match was literally 1,000 miles an hour, it felt like, for 10 to 15 minutes, and I honestly love this match. This is one of those matches where, and maybe I'm giving it too much credit, this is one of those matches to me where you have to go back and watch it, because I really thought it was that good, and this is the match I would have had open the show. Balor jumped Priest from the opening bell when he was making his entrance. He'd get an early advantage. He then disappeared after the ring steps got involved, as Priest used the steps for extra leverage for a side suplex onto the ring apron. Priest hit the broken arrow as he tried to follow up, was hit by a takedown into a standing double foot stomp, an opening that was presented by Opening that was presented by Priest, wasting a bit of time. As they battled to the outside, Priest hit a razor's edge onto the ring apron. The big moves continue with Priest hitting a diving chokeslam off the second rope for a near fall. Balor countered an attempt at a razor's edge from the ring apron onto the ring steps, knocking Priest back onto the steps. Again, this looked like it could have hurt a little bit. Priest was on the other side of the ring apron, and Balor gave him a forearm, and Priest fell backwards, straight onto his back, onto the ring steps, and it looked like that was one of those that would take the wind out of you a little bit. The big moves continue. Priest hit a diving chokeslam off the second rope. Balor countered an attempt at razor's edge, again knocking him into the ring steps. Later, Balor was able to hit the coup de grace for the win. The victory marked TakeOver win number 11 for Balor. This was a good, hard-hitting match with plenty of big moves and served both men well. Priest took the loss, but it shouldn't hurt him anyway going forward. I love this match. I really did. I thought that this did what it needed to do. The right man win, and they went about this match the right way. It just felt as if the match was just done right. However, that Mr. Damian Priest is still alive after that back body drop onto the steps. That looked like it could have hurt a little bit. I really like this match. Priest losing to Balor does absolutely nothing for him. And he will continue to be great. Now, this match right here started off, this was a really interesting match. The NXT North American Championship was on the line, and it was Keith Lee taking on Johnny Gargano. Johnny Gargano was my favorite. If you guys had seen my preview and predictions, which is also a video that I did right before this one, Johnny Gargano was the favorite from my eyes to win this match, whether it was going to be a screwy finish. And speaking of a screwy finish, there was somebody on Twitter on my feed that had stated that the key that Johnny Gargano put in his pants after making his entrance was going to be a factor later, and he had it right on the bat. This was interesting. Gargano made his way to the ring as if he was in the house, and he came through the door that was on the entrance ramp. I actually really thought that was pretty cool. And then Keith Lee came down. So pretty much Gargano used a lot of smart offense in this match. He didn't try to outpower Lee, but a lot of what happened in the early beginning was Lee just dominating Gargano. Gargano was pressing his fingers and wrists into Lee's eyes while working a Cobra Clutch. Gargano got the better of some striking exchanges before locking in an armbar. Every attempt by Lee to use powerful offense in the middle stretch of the mat was met by our Gargano attacking Lee's injured hand. Everything that kind of happened in the beginning of this match literally was Johnny Gargano getting caught. He would try to suicide dive out of the ring. He was caught. He tried to do anything jumping off, any type of move that Gargano tried to acquire on Keith Lee he was literally met with, he was caught. He literally, the move was reversed. I don't know how to explain this, but you guys know if you saw it. He was literally caught with pretty much every single move that he tried, and nothing was working for Gargano. Gargano had laid out vulnerabilities in the lead up to the match that allowed him to extra advantages. Keep in mind when Johnny Gargano made his entrance, and he had when he made his entrance and he had the key that locked the door, he put that key in his pants. And again, I mentioned earlier, somebody on Twitter had mentioned that key was going to be a factor into the match going forward. And it did have. Gargano laid out vulnerabilities in his head, allowed him extra advantages. Lee finally had his moment, though. Body checking Gargano through no, listen. If there's any spot we got to talk about, it's this one. It's a little bit obvious sometimes when they show slow motion because you see Gargano hyping up the jump before it happens. Gargano was on the outside standing by the plexiglass. And we know how Keith Lee likes to literally body check wrestlers. Gargano was standing by the plexiglass. Keith Lee charged him and bodied him into the plexiglass. And the plexiglass broke and Johnny Gargano went flying through it. This was fun to watch. That was really cool. Moments later after that, Candice LeRae made her way to the ring, so here comes the screwery. She was chased off by Mia Yim. Gargano used the distraction to dig at Lee's eye with the key. Once this was all happening, Gargano took the key out of his pants to dig at Keith Lee's eye and hit a series of super kicks to Lee's head, each one resulting in a 2 count. Lee, having survived the onslaught, managed to hit a spirit bomb. He then followed up with a power bomb and a Big Bang catastrophe to retain his title in a match that almost was all Gargano on offense. Gargano was doing everything he possibly could on offense. It wasn't working early. This was a good match. I thought that this match was going to be a bit of a different approach. I kind of thought, well, first off, I thought Gargano was going to win. But not only did I think Gargano was going to win, I thought that this match was going to be a different approach from the standpoint of, you know, it was going to be, or it was going to result in not only Gargano winning, but I thought it was going to be more kind of like the Balor and Priest match. Keith Lee can really go. For somebody his size, he's really got a lot of athletic potential. And but this was a good match, and it was different. It was different. I think that it was fun to watch. The next match was, honestly, I don't want to be one of those people that craps on it, but I feel like WWE knew, or NXT Triple H knew, that the Adam Cole and Velveteen Dream match was not going to be perceived as well as it could have been. And they put it in the fourth match of the night. Third or fourth? I think it was third. And they put it in this spot because, one, let's talk about this. The first reason they put the NXT Championship match and the card placement that it did is because Velveteen didn't win. I think it makes even more sense because, spoiler for those of you that didn't see it, Io Shirai won the Women's Championship. That was the way, and the way that NXT ended was very good. Had NXT ended, or Takeover in Your House ended with Adam Cole on top in this match that was okay, I don't think it would have went over as well. So I think that once I saw that the NXT Championship match was being advertised for this point in the show, I figured that first off, Adam Cole's, and I knew way before. Some people were surprised. I said Undisputed's intervening in this match. There's no way they're not intervening in this match. Adam Cole and Velveteen Dream for the NXT Championship. Cole arrived in a shock the system monster truck, while Dream arrived in a sports car. I don't know why they can't just say Lamborghini. The average person knows what a Lamborghini looks like. I seen someone say Ferrari. I don't know what they were talking about. Dream arrived in a yellow Lamborghini and brought a bat to the ring. He looks kind of like Negan. The ring was the parking lot. So it was a parking lot with a ring in the middle surrounded by cars and talent, illuminating the ring with their headlights, obviously. After a brief opening, Cole grabbed the title and said Dream didn't deserve the match before climbing in a car and attempting to leave. Dream hit the car with a bat before an Uber pulled up. This was funny as shit. That Uber pulled up and it was like, did anybody order an Uber? I don't know. I don't know why that was somewhat funny to me. Dream hit the car with a bat before an Uber pulled up. Cole hid behind one of the doors on the set, and when Dream opened the door, he was met by a fire extinguisher blast, which allowed Cole to take over. Still pushed Cole off the ladder through a car windshield. Now, Cole was actually selling this injury for quite a while. Cole was pushed off of the ladder onto a windshield. Now, I've never been fallen off a ladder onto a car windshield. The blood obviously was real, and I don't think that it was something that would feel very well. They pushed Cole off the ladder through the car windshield. Undisputed Era still came, and they attacked Dream and began filling the ring with steel chairs. Dexter Lumis, we knew somehow, some way he was going to get involved. We know his obsession with Undisputed Era. Dexter Lumis crawled out from under the ring and threw Roderick Strong and Bobby Fish in the trunk of a car and drove off. That's funny as shit. I'm sorry. Dexter Lumis throwing them in a car and driving off is mad funny. I'm sorry. Dream hit a Dream Valley driver for a near fall after Lumis left. He then hit Purple Rainmaker on Cole, who was sitting on a chair. Again, he only drew a 2 count. Cole hit Dream with a low blow. This was toward the end of the match. He hit him with a low blow and then a Panama Sunrise onto the chairs in the ring, scoring the pin to retain his title. The ending to this match was really interesting. I liked the ending to this match because pretty much the way that it was done. It saw Cole do his finisher onto chairs from the top rope. So that's one of the things they did really well. Retains the NXT Championship. CBS Sports says this was very visually difficult to watch with significant lighting issues and a jumbled mess of spots and things happening. These two would have been far better served to have a straight wrestling match rather than going the cinematic route. Absolutely. Absolutely. For whatever reason, the presentation of this match to me and just kind of the way that it was done kind of bothered me a little bit. I felt like the cameras were very shaky. It wasn't right. The lighting just wasn't there. You know, the ending in the match was okay, but this is, honestly, it's not a match. I felt like I was disappointed. And I think that for some reason they knew that it wasn't going to live up to what they really wanted so that's part of the reason why they put it where it did. Cole retains. Is Dream getting called up to the main roster? I don't know about that, because there's a very, very good chance. Very good chance. Adam Cole is going to stay right put in NXT. And that's that. The next match wasn't much of a match. Now, normally I would crap on something like this, but I felt like this show could afford something like this. It could afford how exactly it ended. It was Tommaso Ciampa versus Kerri and Kross. Ciampa jumped on Kross immediately, trying to keep the bigger man from getting going, ending in a big kick from Kross before he threw Ciampa to the floor. Kross took over from there, throwing Ciampa around ringside and back inside the ring. Kross hit Ciampa with a suplex after suplex before Ciampa finally exploded with a flurry of strikes and a big running knee to Kross's face. Ciampa hit Widow's Bell for a near fall and a few more running knees as he tried to explode into a finish, but a fairy tale ending was countered into a big throw and then the Kross jacket that put Ciampa to sleep. Kross winning a quick match in empathetic fashion was a perfect move here. Kross is the new threat to Ciampa. Is bulletproof in NXT, so he can deal with losing one-sided. Relatively quick pay-per-view match with no damage done. It was what it was. It cements Kerri and Kross as this dominant figure that he's already been cemented as. It's not only does that, Ciampa, again, CBS words it so well, he's bulletproof. Ciampa can lose 3 times in a row. He's still Tommaso Ciampa. Kerri and Kross, in my opinion, will be the man to take the title off of Adam Cole. That's what I think. I think that he's been built so well. He's such a strong character. And I think that, you know, I thought Kross was going to win Ciampa to begin with, but I thought that Ciampa was going to have a better effort. But if you really think about it, there's nothing wrong with this. There's nothing wrong with this. Kerri and Kross wins, and now we are on to the main event of the evening. The NXT Women's Championship. Charlotte Flair, Rhea Ripley, Io Shirai. I nailed it right on the head. I said right before, and I said when I did my prediction Saturday, I said that Io Shirai was going to win the title and she was going to pin Rhea. Charlotte doesn't look weak. She never got pinned. Flair bailed from the ring immediately in the beginning and told Ripley to take and Shirai to go at it. Flair still wasted no time getting back in the mix and eventually locked up Shirai in a high-ankle Boston grab. But Rhea ran in for the save, destroying Flair with some huge strikes. The match continued along at a perfect pace, with each woman getting high-impact offense without any lulls on the action. Flair locked Shirai in the figure 8, but was pulled from the ring by Rhea Ripley, and the two brawled on the outside of the ring before Shirai hit a big dive onto Rhea. Things broke down into a brawl around the set, with Flair showing Shirai through one of the set pieces. As Flair and Ripley brawled, Shirai dove off the house at the front set, which was a very nice spot. We saw Io Shirai dive off. She always does the crazy dives, and that's why we love Io Shirai so much. Both women, Ripley nailed Flair with a riptide off the second rope, but Shirai broke up the pin. Shirai and Ripley battled, but as Ripley had Shirai locked in the prism tap, Flair came in the ring with a kendo stick. She picked up a kendo stick and looked evil from the outside. She began laying waste to both. After assaulting Ripley with the cane, Flair locked Ripley in the figure 8. I was genuinely afraid that Charlotte was going to retain at this point. Shirai came off the top rope with a nice moonsault onto Rhea Ripley and got the pin. As Flair tried to untangle her legs from Ripley, this was a fantastic main event. It really was. It was perfectly paced. All 3 women looked great in the match. Flair's time as champion needed to end. She never needed it to begin with. Shirai as champion gives Ripley someone to chase an immediately interesting program. Charlotte goes back to the main roster. Bye-bye. Now we have a feud between Rhea Ripley and Io Shirai. I'm all for it if that's the way that they're gonna go with it, because right now those are the 2 women that I think would be best fit for that situation. I love the streamers at the end. That's one of those things that they do in Japan when they win matches and big moments. Great way to end the show. This was a fantastic match, and it was the right match to main event. So now this main eventing only makes sense even more, because now this main events the Cole Velvetine match, which was kind of, honestly, I don't want to say it was thumbs down, but if I have to pick one, it was kind of a thumbs down. I didn't really feel the interest that I should have felt with it. But as far as everything else goes, this was a good show. This was a good wrestling show. Was it a good NXT Takeover? I don't know, because the standards that were set from the other NXT Takeovers are so damn high that I'm not quite sure that I could sit here and tell you that it was good from NXT Takeover standards. But what I can tell you is that this is Nxt World. You need to like, subscribe, push this out to other people. Thank you so much. Oh my God. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. Hopefully Raw is not too difficult to sit through tonight. Stay safe, everybody. Thank you as always.